After 14 years of demand and a 17-year legacy to cash in on, Kingdom Hearts 3 is all at once a fitting conclusion to the initial arc of this franchise and confusingly unnerving. Having burned over 40 hours into Kingdom Hearts 3 on standard mode, having unlocked both Ultima Weapon and the secret epilogue ending, I still don't quite know how I feel about Kingdom Hearts 3. Most of this relates back to the story, so I'll cover the more objective goods of the game before diving into some controversial subject matter. Gameplay, as is traditional with the series, has a fine layer of polish, making it a sheer joy to play. Mixing melee combat styles, form changes, weapon swapping, magic, item management, shot locks, and team attacks has never felt more fluid, though thanks to some of this, abilities such as Link summoning system and flow motion feel somewhat redundant. All the same, it's nice to have them as options when in the heat of the moment, especially because even on standard, this game knows how to throw out a challenge. While I only died a handful of times, several bosses and even the occasional enemy encounter pushed the limits of what I knew about the systems available to me, and beating them felt all the more rewarding because of that. Traversing each world has never felt more rewarding with new and returning movement mechanics, especially when presented wide open worlds like San Francisco and the Caribbean. The individual worlds themselves feel more alive than ever, with active NPC populations finally present to remind us there are more than 5 people in any given world. There's also an occasional puzzle thrown in to keep things varied, though they're rarely anything difficult. Overall, these worlds feel like a natural fusion of the worlds featured in the first game and in Kingdom Hearts 2, though they definitely feel like they lean on the Kingdom Hearts 2 model far more than they do the first game's model. While I would still like a return to form of Kingdom Hearts 1 style maps, I have to say I'm very much appreciative of what we got. Music is much more bombastic than any other games in the franchise, which can be a good thing, though honestly I came out with most of the songs not really sticking in my mind. Perhaps upon getting the soundtrack and getting to listen to them in a vacuum will change that, but as it stands, only a few songs really stood out to me. However, I am happy to say that Face My Fears turned out to be a much better song than the initial tease we got of it hinted at. It improved dramatically in the second half, so much so that I'm willing to accept it as another keystone song in the franchise, though I think of the 4, it's still the weakest. Not to say anything of Don't Think Twice, which, while a much different speed for Kingdom Hearts theme, stands on its own as superb work by Utada Hikaru. I had a much easier time accepting it into the canon as opposed to Face My Fears. Graphically, the game is gorgeous, though while playing on the original Xbox One, there were occasional issues with jagged edges and fractals. This was a minimal issue, but still noticeable. I suppose I'm getting spoiled with how versatile games in a high-end PC can be and look. Aside from that, there was 1 or 2 hiccups in frame rate, and some of the loading times tried my patience, but overall the game ran smoothly and kept at a decent clip. Aesthetically, the art style has only been further perfected, and I can't help but actually want a movie in this style. Every animation, facial expression, and movement are perfectly replicated from the representative films such as Tangled, Frozen, and Ratatouille, and Kingdom Hearts' own overly emotive style shines through like a diamond with each grandiose character delivery and confession. If anything, this is a superb game to watch as well as play. Now we move on to the story, and considering my history with this franchise, this is where I suspect most of you will be wondering where my opinions lie. To be frank, this game still didn't quite manage to capture the gorgeous storytelling of the first game, however it is a marked improvement over the second. In each world you encounter some representative of the organization, and through that encounter you get to learn tidbits about them and their plans, very similar to my suggestion back in the Flaws video about Kingdom Hearts 2. However, where I run into some frustration with this game is the fact that we still learn so little about several key players in this franchise, ones that have been around so long that they warrant some kind of deeper explanation. We do get more character insight during the finale of the game, but unfortunately this comes with the consequence of this game feeling lopsided towards the end. This, you'll remember, is the same complaint I had about Kingdom Hearts 2, though it's more of a testament to how much actually happens at the game's conclusion, and less how empty each world felt leading up to it. There's also an honestly gratuitous overuse of Deus Ex Machina in this game, especially near the conclusion. Now, admittedly, if you follow the series from start to finish, most of these surprises heroics won't be so, well, surprising, as they've been set up over the course of years. But even then, if you're familiar with the ins and outs of the series like I am, it still gets pretty grating to see our heroes at their lowest point, only for one of a billion possible characters to literally fly in from out of the blue to save the day. Such heroics are explained, especially in the special reports you can find throughout the late game, but it doesn't stop the fact that these interruptions seriously undercut the threat the villains pose. So, when the bad guys do something especially villainous, you're left no other option than to assume it'll be fixed in a matter of minutes. Another issue arises with some of the worlds that felt a little undercooked. The Frozen and Pirate section of the game especially felt like growing pains from Kingdom Hearts 2, where Sora and his team are just bystanders to the main story's plot. I can quickly see Ardenelle becoming a fan meme like Atlantica in Kingdom Hearts 2 for a number of reasons, not the least of which the adherence to recreating musical scenes from the movie wholesale. At least this time around, Sora doesn't sing and the animation is so damned good you'd be forgiven for mistaking it for the actual film. However, as much as I'm harping on the story, the character interactions are all superb, and some of the character reunions that fans have been dreaming of for years are just as good as we had hoped. concept. This isn't just limited to the core cast either, but also the Disney World cast as well. Tangled, Monsters Inc., and San Francisco especially stood out to me, doubly so because the latter two are treated as honest-to-God sequels to their respective films with a Kingdom Hearts twist thrown in. Then there's that ending. Oh, that ending. I was expecting an Infinity War level of death in this game, frankly, especially with some of the hype coming out of Nomura's mouth. My expectations were both subverted and shattered in a way that can only be equated to an emotional gut punch. For as messy some of the writing at the end of this game can be, the direction and animation saves it with painful, effective simplicity. I wouldn't be surprised if what happens at the end wasn't even in the script at first and some animator just had the idea halfway through the scene. Before I give my final thoughts and my spoiler commentary, I'd like to give a shout out to all of my lovely patrons. Without all of you, I'd have never made it as far as I have, and I want to thank you for the continued support as I work to continue improving my quality for the rest of the content on this channel. Remember, for $1 or more to my Patreon, you can get access to the Team Frostbite Discord server where I, as well as other similar critics, frequently interact with friends and fans alike. If you want to support this channel without spending a dime, then please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell. Likewise, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments down below. Overall, the illustrious Kingdom Hearts 3 is not a game I would recommend to newcomers of the franchise, and one that I would warn fans to temper their expectations over. This game is good, even great, but the plot still suffers from issues that have plagued the series since Kingdom Hearts 2, such as pacing woes and hanging plot threads. And newcomers will be devoured alive by the plot and magiscience being flung around haphazardly. If you're a fan of this franchise, pick it up, but if you want to start the series, give it a pass until you've bought the story so far for PS4 and played through that. Trust me, it'll be far more rewarding and probably cheaper in the long run. Thank you so much for watching the spoiler-free section of this review. As is customary from here on out, a spoiler warning is in full effect. I'll be diving into quite a lot, so if you don't want to get spoiled on it, please avert your ear holes now. There will be no more warnings. So, to get some of my early frustrations out, for the end of an entire arc, there are sure a lot of open threads, aren't there? Ava being missing, Lucio being Xigbar, Lariam and Lorena still not getting any more development, at least not super significant development. Not even a hint of why they do what they do, and you can loop Luxord and Demyx into that. Though, gotta say, Luxord was a class act through and through in this game. I really want to see as somebody and Sora play cards whenever that comes next. Aqua's section of the game became way too hyped for what it ended up being. All of us fans were sitting there thinking this girl had finally given into the darkness willingly, finding no one to pull her out during her many depressive spats. And then, nope! Turns out she just got tossed in the ocean of darkness like a freshly cleaned tuna carcass. The showdown with her was cool, but I think I felt let down by my own expectations of why she was consumed with darkness in the first place. And then there's the fact that they not only killed Kairi, but she was brought back and Sora was sacrificed instead. Like, Kairi and Lee barely did anything in this game. Now, admittedly, they did fight, and fight well. I mean, they both held off Xion and Sayax, but come on, that was a cheap way of squeezing an emotion out of the audience. Especially since her death was a scene that got seriously undercut by people like Roxas, the Dandelions, and the Lingering Wheel popping out of the woodwork to solve every other problem in the game. And actually, I learned this later, but there's an entire scene in the game that's entirely missable if you don't click at the right place at the right time when Sora is thrown into the last world. A scene in which Naminé reveals that the only reason Sora was able to survive there was because Kairi was the one keeping him together through sheer willpower. And hell, that's the close to Naminé and Sora's tandem arc from Chain of Memories. It explains why the Lingering Will appeared when it did! Why was this cutscene missable? Shout out to Everglow for bringing this to my attention. I'll give the game this. The bait and switch with Sora being dead at the end was really freaking clever, and well done. And everything preceding that with all of my babies so happy and not alone and existing all at the same time as friends, gah, my fanboy heart squealed at that! And then cried because, you know, dead main character. Well, not really, since the secret ending shows him either in Shibuya, Tokyo, or some city that looks like it with Yoroza looking over him. Like, I love these secret endings, but what the hell is going on here, Nomura? Like, that's cool, it looks like realities are getting swapped and messed with, but I'm just confused what the goal is next. Are we going to do a whole new set of worlds that aren't based on Disney franchises? Is this The World Ends With You? Are we going to Japan? Please say we're going to Japan. Seeing Sora literally fight his way into Super Smash Bros. Would be fantastic. I might have more to say on this game later, but wow, there is a lot to unpack from this game. I didn't even touch on the Gumi ships, or Vexen's redemption, or also the scene between Ienzo and Ansem the Wise is, or the freaking replicas and how important they became. God, there's too much info to go into. For every ounce of frustration I have with this game, I love it to death because it's finally friggin' here and there's so much character catharsis. I hope you other Kingdom Hearts fans out there are just as happy, even if you find things to get angry at like I have. Thank you all so much for watching this video through. And as a slight tease as to what's coming next in my repertoire, Yeah, time to get to work. As always, I wish you all the very best of days, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.